I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty
with
and
liberty
justice.
and justice for all.
Can I get a motion on the meeting minutes for the board of directors? Can you make the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Financials that are here, the financials as of March 31st, the April's haven't, not yet been completed, we haven't gotten the final brokerage statements yet. But as of March 31st, we had a total amount of cash of $11,232,000, of which $9,091,000 was in the bad days and $2,040,914, and we have a total of $861,000 in outstanding commitments as of March 31st. You know, really had to exchange by $12,000, so it's not much different. Also attached here is the Form 990 for our federal tax form, which needs to be approved for us for the CPAs for 087. I have not yet received the HR 500. Well, normally we have that at this meeting, but the CPAs they've changed their procedure and they want the 990 approved before they do the HR 500.
Really? Can I get a motion on approval of the 990? Make motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
I'm good.
All right. Linda,
Alright,
reporting in compliance.
Reporting in compliance, all annual governance actions were completed at the January meeting, including the board elections, required policy reviews and ethics compliance, year-end financial filings, tax documents, and audit-related reports were submitted on time. With most completed between January and March, our audited financial statements and all ABO reporting requirements were filed by April 1st. Board compliance is in good standing with nearly all members having completed the required training. Dan completed the last two items for his, and Allison is in the process of scheduling her board member training, and then we will be complete.
I don't know. We never got a
I don't.
Thank you, everyone.
Looking ahead, the IRS Form 990 is financial disclosures are due May 15th, and the workers' compensation audit is due May 21st. O&M payments are anticipated to be sent out by May 31st. And mid-year O&M documentation is due by June 1st. Overall compliance remains strong with no missed deadlines or significant issues to report. That's it.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Kevin.
Project update, how we doing? All right, we are marching along to 920 total kilograms. Many projects that you see a yellow and shifting up into active construction as we go into the summer and into the fall. Nearly complete on the project top of the list, Phantom 1000, which knocks out close to 8 kilograms in one shot. Fantastic. That's a huge way to get us up to our number. Many of the projects, as I said, are going to go to construction over the course of the summer in preparation for post Labor Day. Time period from Labor Day to the close out of the year. A little bit of luck if we get a big jump on those. Almost all of them have plantings, and that's the big swing. So with a little bit of luck, we can get them closed out this calendar year. If not, there may be some just a little bit of overlap into the next calendar year, to the next planting season, so we can knock those out and march ahead to preparation for years 11 through 15 retrofits that we need to get a jump on as soon as we have the funding that's available. But from the sound of it, we've had good progress with both Westchester County and Putnam County to free up the funding for the administration services for the program. Just a reminder, that is our only source for administration. So once that is freed up, staff can then begin turning our attention to generating a new work plan, new set of projects that we can start moving forward on. So it looks like everything's gonna kind of converge between the county funding agreements and ideally the funding agreement that we have with the DEP to allow for construction, design, or retrofits. But as soon as all those come to a point, we'll be able to hit the ground running and start continuing the process. To that end, I think it's again very important that every municipality keeps an eye out for any project opportunities within their borders. Having your engineers and your highway departments be familiar with any acceptable retrofits that are out there is ideal. There's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and calling me and saying, hey, Kevin, is this gonna be a retrofit or do we have to use town funds? Because that just gives me the chance to look into it, give you a clear answer, yes or no. Because we want to be able to squeeze out as many kilograms as we can, especially with things that you guys might actually already be doing. So I encourage everybody to continue doing that, and we'll go ahead to the next work plan.
For the following project, the job, but not ever get that clear.
I had to follow up with them and see what we can set up. The county was less of the issue as opposed to the property owner in the middle. So this is a county road that has drainage that goes onto a private property, then onto a private HOA. We have a project that'll be working with the homeowners association and private property owner, but then the one in the middle is kind of a little wishy-washy on how he wants to help. So once I can get him on board with a clear path, then engaging with the county is going to be the next step.
Okay.
But thank you for contacting them and letting me know who to reach out to. Everything? Well, we can move on to the proposed O&M RFP. Okay. Yep. So as we're looking at available possible funding, what we wanted to do, propose in our last executive committee meeting was bring up a set of projects that are eligible for O&M funding through our existing funding sources that we have, particularly the FAD funding that the DEP provided us. So with a stipulation within the FAD funding says that any project that we use FAD funding for is eligible to qualify for maintenance funding using any earnings that we had on that original contract. Now, then we've been fortunate through the guidance of Keith to get very good return on our investments with the FAD funding that we had on hand. And I feel we have the ability to move forward with an RFP that can remove some of the projects from your responsibility and put them underneath our umbrella for 1 year. The idea is that we can lessen your load and provide funding across the whole board. We will see a reduction in maintenance costs for 2026. Now, I look at our annual bill tends to be right around $200,000 for maintenance for all retrofits. I think this opportunity will allow us to pull about $70,000 out of the group for us to execute projects execute the maintenance ourselves under an RFP that we will release. And if anything, all we'll do is going to lighten the load for everybody. Now, this is funding that we otherwise would be able to carry over into a future design and construction contract or a future design and construction funding. But the executive committee, after my proposal at an April meeting, elected to move forward with this RFP. I think there was about 6 projects that we could pull out. Again, it's only projects that are within very specific regions within the watershed. And about $70,000, but I think it's a worthwhile item to go forward with. Will allow us to pulling together a lot of similar issues that we have across a few retrofits, like older fencing that has to be replaced, that's falling apart, or plantings that are due for replacement for ponding systems or wetland systems. And feel it's a good way to help you guys out with some of the funding that we have on hand. And definitely.
It also sounded like you could ensure there was like full compliance with what needed to be done this way, whereas it's not.
Yeah, so this gives us the opportunity to make sure that these projects are exactly at the level of maintenance where we want them to be. You know, with us physically standing over a catch basin or a manhole structure, flow splitter as it's being vacuumed. And to make sure that we're hitting everything exactly the way we need to. This is a great opportunity, I think, to make sure these individual projects are exactly where we need them to be in this course, at this point in the program. And I think it's absolutely worthwhile venture for us. So what I would do is I'm going to reach out to those municipalities and just let them know, hey, these projects don't have to worry about them this calendar year. We will take care of them, pull them into this RFP. Then in 2027, it's back to our regular procedure where each individual municipality will be responsible for maintaining. Of course, at this point, when we step in and try to do a much larger cleanup, if we can. Ideally, if there is any concerns with those projects, they're going to be in great shape when we step away from them. So I think it's, as I said, I think it's a great use of money.
Kevin, back up. I would appreciate you reaching out to those municipalities, but just let them know that we're doing this and to put their projects on hold, but we haven't approved the RFP,
Yes,
right? So until we approve the RFP, we don't know that they're not gonna be responsible.
sure. All right, I'll reword that. Yeah, please, understood.
We have more on all that? No. Okay, other business. Board member, wish to bring up anything at this time? I have a couple of updates. That's what you're looking for. Let's start off with the agreement between the DEC, the DEP and the corporation. Is there anything new on that, Vinnie?
No, let's see, the process is going back to straightforward, and we can go into July time, things that I told you a couple weeks ago, but we still need.
Well, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon.
It looks like there has been no movement, I don't like to get too excited too quick.
Yes. Okay. Myself and some of the staff and Chris. We had a preliminary meeting with the DEP on the rollover funding. I think that was fairly positive. And I will touch on the Putnam County funds, the quick funds from Putnam County. The corporation had asked Putnam County for $1.5 million. I met with physical services. It was a fairly positive meeting. And I believe it is going before the legislature for consideration tomorrow night. So hopefully that's looking positive. Where do we stand with Westchester?
We're good.
Okay, so we just need to get Putnam on board and then we can sign the agreements with the forward. Okay. Good. Did I hit them all?
I think so, yeah, the Westchester can't move forward until Putnam's done. It's the
Right.
reason for it, you know, execute at the same time.
Right. The last thing I have for everybody here is just to make sure you're aware. For some of our newer members, every municipality has a phosphorus reduction allocation that was created in 2009 by the DEC on a watershed implementation plan. They currently have released a new draft watershed implementation plan. I would encourage you all to take a look at it. There is both good news in it and bad news. The good news is the phosphorus application for most municipalities is dropping down. For whatever reason, Patterson is doubling, maybe Pauling is tripling.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So I'm loving that. They are basically also looking at natural areas, forested areas, and there's discussion within the document about how we need to take a look at forested areas and start reducing phosphorus from these natural areas, which I think is a little crazy for the metric that they're using. One of the other things they're looking at is they've got a recommendation that the permit for the MS4s be amended to include the towns requiring dye testing on all septic systems within 250 feet of the lake.
Wow.
That is a big one.
Well, particularly in Westchester where we don't regulate those septic systems.
Well, nobody does in Westchester, Putnam and Dutchess. We have no control over any of that. Yeah, so comments are due back to the DEC by May 22nd, 2026.
On which one
On the watershed implementation plan.
is the dye testing and
Yes.
implementation plan?
Yes, and they're recommending that the permit be amended, I think almost immediately to incorporate all these changes,
Wow.
so.
Who is it, which office is recommending to this?
Well, this is coming out of Tom Snow's replacement, Aaron. Well, blank on her last name.
Yeah.
And
When did this come out?
this came out about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Are they following seeker? Because, with their wetlands, modifications this past year was just overthrown out of the state court.
So
Did they-
this is an implementation plan. I don't know how much they actually have to follow seeker. But if they do amend the permit, I would assume that now that's a regulatory obligation that would need to follow seeker.
Are we thinking as a corporation of sending a letter, a comment letter particularly about the septic systems? In response as a corporation?
Kevin has it. Kevin is reviewing it. I'm sure Kevin's gonna have comments on it. I can tell you this, for the town of Patterson, I'm kind of in a sticky situation here because while everybody's obligation of corporation's obligation goes down, to double the obligation of the town of Patterson because I have a lot of open space.
Yeah, well, and I respect that. I think that, like, for example, the town of Newcastle would do their own letter as well. But I also think as a corporation, we have some strength in doing some comments that are more, that affect us all. Because I think that as a corporation, seeing us band together, I think the comments will be taken a little more heavily than a whining town who they think can support it.
Well, I just would note that I think the comments on septic, some comments may be appropriately coming from EOHWC, but I think coalition may be the appropriate body to comment with respect to other aspects that are affecting things other than what EOH's scope is.
Okay, so then maybe.
A letter from the coalition, in other words, rather than from EOH. Again, some of the issues do affect EOH, they affect the retrofits and all of that. But to the extent that they are broader than that, perhaps it's a coalition letter.
All
Okay,
right. We'll have a brief coalition meeting at the end of the agenda. You have an objection to that? Hearing none.
are you talking about? No, not me. No comment.
Corporation and what we need to.
I think anything related to retrofits and reduction targets is a
So the
corporation.
phosphorus number should be corporate.
Yes.
Septic would be coalition.
Correct, and so let's just, after we close this meeting, let's have a coalition meeting to talk about a joint letter.
And I'm not sure I mentioned this, the good news in all this is
Yeah,
we're
we-
going from 459 0.5 kilograms in a 5-year cycle. Down, I think it's 309. 309.7.
Yeah, I think I was trying to find the number, yeah.
And what I wanna say, Rich, I know that you're upset over the rise in your phosphorus allocation. That affects all of us as well, like we're umbrella. Exactly, like, I mean, we are umbrella compliant, so as a group of municipalities, we're gonna stick together and we're gonna support your kind of comment on
I
it.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've got a big concern about it. Now they want us to go out into forested areas
That's insane.
or, you know,
Well, they want you
Ways
to go
to
out
be-
and back up every week that falls, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
I need some, listen, I need some more people on staff, I'm gonna go down with rates and.
That's all fine, well, and good, but for us to sit there and start, you know, walking across private property, looking at forests for channel erosion.
It's when we don't have enough,
crazy.
when we don't
Yeah.
have enough to do what we actually can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but don't think for a second that as part of this umbrella compliance, we're not gonna stand with you
Yeah.
regarding that.
So this number
And
is
you.
down even with.
Because as they're dividing it amongst us, they're dividing it based on the area of watershed within, for each municipality within the overall watershed. Right?
Were they
Which is,
trying to create a divide?
You know, Patterson and Falling are two of the lowest developed towns within the whole watershed.
Right.
And yet they're hitting us because we have higher areas within the watershed. So, Vinny, stop laughing.
No.
But our areas are pervious versus impervious.
Yeah,
Going
yeah,
down.
that's
That
a
means you
huge
don't need to
difference.
roll over money?
Apparently not.
Thank you.
The other thing that you may want to comment on is the list of funding opportunities, which was included last time, is included this time, but the list is different. And notably, they don't include funding opportunities for the retrofits directly.
But we need to change that too.
Certainly that'll be a big comment.
So for the corporation comments, is it the intention, Kevin, that you would prepare a draft for us based on your review, and then you would review it, kind of, how is that gonna get facilitated?
So we're not gonna have a whole lot of time to do anything. The comment period is May 22nd.
You would vote to authorize Kevin to draft a letter and then you can send around.
Yeah, then I'll send it around.
Okay,
for
let's,
comment.
I raised that,
Technical committee, included,
or I make that motion for Kevin to draft a letter based on his review in time to submit for comments on behalf of the corporation regarding all of the issues that are raised in the draft watershed implementation plan in relation to the work that the corporation is doing.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed?
That's a good question.
Yes.
So say they require this dye testing of the septics within 250 feet of a lake. And they find a problem. And then they're issued a violation, you know, it's just, how do they enforce anything to be done? Because we're in the middle of.
So this is the challenging part for all of us. They put it in the MS4 permit.
Right.
So the town is obligated to require the dye test, but you have no authority to do so.
Right,
And when you do find a positive test,
then what?
you have no authority to go in and remedy the situation. So
There seems to be a disconnect with
there is a
that.
disconnect. And we argued this point the last time, when they put the obligation on local municipalities to have a septic maintenance program.
Right.
You know, and we found a way to work through that we could all live with, but
So right now, the permit states that within 5 years, you need to ensure that all septic systems are at least maintained, inspected and maintained. Right, and so for Newcastle, we are in the process of changing our code to, you know, in some instances it says that, in other instances, there's a conflict. But in general, we now require as part of every building permit that is submitted for an applicant to show us proof that their septic system has been maintained. If they're making an application to any board or doing any land use activity that we are regulating, we need to make sure the septic system has been maintained. We have 5 years to try and target everybody to comply. And then we have to figure out who's in, who's out, who is reported, who hasn't. So we're using our record keeping. We're gonna compare it against tax parcel IDs and other information to try and come up with a mailing in that last year that says you either are due for a new pump out or not, or due inspection or not. But it is a very soft obligation on the town, because if there is a violation, we need to call in Westchester County.
Right.
And you need to call in Putnam County.
We call in so we have a form, we just send it, or right to Dutchess County Health Department.
Exactly.
And we put it in record that we send.
Exactly, so now, well,
And
then
what do
it's.
they actually do?
Well, then,
It's
then,
over.
right, the town.
Okay, yeah,
regulation
we've
is over.
ensured that, and we've met that requirement.
Right,
Understood.
now, if they're going to now ask for dye testing,
Right.
then the town will probably end up changing the requirement based on where you are in relation to a water body.
It costs
And
us
then
more money.
Which will cost us
And
more
training.
money. Well, no, the
Passing the
home,
local
we'll
code,
put it on the
local law.
homeowner. The homeowner who wants a building permit and they're within 250 or 500 feet of a water body, you now need to show us proof of your maintenance and a dye test to get a building permit. Like, that is the only way that I think we will get a majority of properties within the watershed to demonstrate this, if that is the case.
Yeah.
This is an overreach, because the idea of a septic inspection includes, if you suspect something, they will do a dye test, right? I mean, that's kind of the protocol. You pump the tank, if there's still suspected problems, you run a dye test to ensure your fields are operational. It's all under the realm of maintenance, and let a septic service provider or a septic professional determine what is going on with that septic system.
But it's just ridiculous that they're putting it on the town when we know in New York State, it's the health department that regulates septic system. So I mean, why isn't this being put on the health departments, not the town?
Right, but even so, I thought that the idea of loosening what they initially wanted to maintenance left that category open for inspection, pump out, dye test, whatever was needed. Right, and now you're further targeting. First, it was all septics in the watershed area, and in a town like Newcastle, we actually just did it town-wide because it's very difficult to differentiate, and we want to try and get as much of the population as possible. But now you're saying if you're within a certain distance of a water body, you want a dye test.
Yes.
So I think it's an overreach.
So let me just touch on really quick, how it's done in Putnam, so everybody's aware. In Putnam, we work with the health department. All septic haulers have to be licensed. As part of the license, they're required to fill out and a inspection form when they pump the septic tank out. And the towns and the health department both get that.
And
copy of that
landowner.
inspection, so it goes straight to the health department. The health department has a database that you can access. And, the town's also keeping a separate database, so we're tracking who's pumping their septic and who's not. Like, Newcastle, when somebody comes in for a permit, we're double checking. And they've gotta show that inspection for. So, and remember, this is only for the area within your towns that are in the East of Hudson watershed,
Right.
not necessarily the whole
And-
town.
Westchester County has licensed providers as well, and Millie, are they still reporting to you guys?
They report to the Department of Health.
So is there a way to change that so that the towns get a copy of that inspection record as well?
We can try. I mean,
Westchester County posted on their Geo Hub. I think it was updated through 2024,
yeah.
and it's all the haulers. But the data does not come to towns. We've asked that already. To Sabrina's point, we've tried doing the same thing in Cortland with having contractors and homeowners provide clean out records for septic systems prior to building permits. Limited success. I think we were like 1 in 5 that actually provide us that information. We don't hold them to it, but we ask for it just as a general courtesy. I do know the Westchester County Department of Health had a big shakeup, and they're understaffed. So I don't know how we can coordinate with them, but I'm sure we can try.
Millie, is that something you can kind of help them?
The problem is that the data that we receive from the septic haulers is not always accurate in terms of the location of the residents. And so it's not records that we can necessarily count on. I mean, there are some places where, some neighborhoods where all of the data ends up going to one particular property, so over a 10-year period. You can have, 100 pump outs and they all get pushed to this one location. It's not accurate information. We've tried working with the haulers to revamp it. We've tried talking to them about having, an iPad or something with them so that they're not writing it on paper that can geolocate. There are issues with connectivity in some of the areas though, so the geolocate doesn't work properly. There's a whole host of issues.
In Patterson, when we sent out letters, we found a number of haulers that weren't even licensed in Putnam County. Good times, good times.
I don't think we have that problem in Westchester, but
You'd be
maybe we
surprised.
do.
I'm sure we do. If they have it, we have it.
They were coming in from Connecticut.
Yeah.
So,
Particularly along the edges, the county.
Yeah.
Well, and then for us in Dutchess County, there's such a small percentage of watershed that I don't see the county health department, which had a complete overhaul of employees and you can't even work with them. So I don't see them helping us out with any kind of database or anything. So minuscule. In the county.
all right, well, at this point, I'd like to adjourn this meeting, so I'll make a motion to adjourn the East of Hudson. Corporation quarterly meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
All right, I'd like to open a meeting of the East of Hudson Coalition.